Okay, so this other one that we do is talking about goals. So long-term goal, a year or more. Short-term goal is less than a year. And what we would show them is, this is an example. You have a utility bill. A lot of times the ladies will come in and they have utilities that have gone on their credit report because they didn't pay them. And it could have been just a relationship they were in and got out of, and they end up owing $300 or $400, sometimes $700. You have to get that paid because you can't get into a house without it. So you need to come up with a plan. And so what we would show them is how to set that up. Here's a chart. What you do is you set your goal. We're going to pay the gas bill. And we're going to give ourselves 6 months to pay that. What does that look like? Well, it's $360 total. It's $60 for a month, $15 a week, and $214 a day. And why we want to show them it like this, and we'll show them each section at a time when they say, I don't have $60. I can't do it. And then we'll show them 15. Well, what do you think about 15 a week? It's the same amount, but you have to break it down so they understand. And if they still don't, and we show that the 214, and they still try to tell us they can't do it, then we have them look back at their weekly money tracker sheet where their spending leaks were, and they can find $2.14. It's just taking that $2.14 and putting it into your savings account, into the piggy bank, into an envelope some way, and not touching it, and then you keep adding to it until you reach that goal. That's what's really important to do. Okay, so this is very easy. You're trying to get your first month's rent together, your security deposit, whatever it is. This is a way that you could plan. So maybe you have one coffee a week, and then the other time that you were going to drink the coffee, that goes into the envelope. Okay, so you're doing both. Okay, this is one way, one chart. This isn't the only chart. We give them an idea, and then we also give them websites that they can go to come up with their own charts. But a monthly payment schedule, so which bill is it? What's the pay or due date? What's the amount due and the amount paid? There's one other chart we show them as well, that it's minimum due and then the amount you can pay. So those are two different things. Minimum due and then the amount you can pay. Anytime you can pay more than the minimum, and we show them how much that saves them, because until you see it written down, you don't understand what that looks like. And we'll show you a chart here in a bit that we show our clients as well that really helps them. This next one, this is a very detailed budget, okay? So you can take a smaller budget and a weekly, and then put that into a monthly one. But this is what one would look like. So you have two columns here. You have a budgeted column, and you have an actual column. When you have housing, a lot of times we just think about rent. There are so many other items that go into housing. It's if you have renter's insurance, if you have utilities, you might have upkeep that you need to do when things goes wrong. There's a lot of different things that goes under housing. Transportation, entertainment, finance, others. So there's lots of others. Some of these items you might not need if you don't use, but what you do is you budget. You put how much you think or how much you know you're going to have to pay that month. Then after you pay it, you need to put that in the actual. And then you need to compare. And if the actual is more than you budgeted, you're behind somewhere. So it's going to have to come from one of those other line items for the next month. So you are going to have to cut from somewhere. Maybe it's good that you always add an extra $10 more or an extra $25 more just in case, especially for groceries, gas, some of those expenses that change. The fixed ones, maybe not so much, because you usually have, they tell you ahead of time if your rent's going to go up, or your student loan's going to go up, one of those kind of items. But if it's a changing expense, maybe you always want to add just a little more each month. And then this is just something that you need to do on a continuous basis. Every month you budget, you look at the actual, and then you compare, and then you are going to need to maybe modify for the next month. So this is one way you could do it. Any questions on that? Okay. Okay, so reverse budgeting. So with reverse budgeting, what you do is you work backwards from how much your monthly expenses are, and you're going to figure out how much you need to make an hour to be able to meet those needs, okay? So we're going to start with step one is determine your monthly expenses. We're going to go with $2,000. And that means rent, your utilities, your car payments, credit card payments, food, clothes, all of it. If you put all of that together, it's $2,000 a month. So step two is subtract any additional consistent income. So if you're getting child support, and you know, and what I say is make sure it's consistent, that you know you're getting it every month. If you're not, don't use it. Don't use overtime. Don't use tips. You know, just be careful of those kind of things that you use. Make sure it's that consistent amount. And so you would subtract this. We're going to pretend we're getting $200 in child support. So now we have $1,800. That's net pay. We have to net $1,800 a month in order to be able to meet our needs. And so step three is to multiply by 30% to estimate taxes. So when you get a paycheck, they take out federal, state, Social Security, Medicare, all of that. It's about 30%. And so that's why we're multiplying by 30% to give us the gross amount. So that's $540. We add that. So now we have to gross $2,340. If we multiply that by 12, we have to have a salary of $28,080. So that would be maybe a conversation. If you were going to apply for a job and it was salary-based, then you would have to have a salary of $28,080 in order to be able to pay your bills at $1,800 a month net. And then step 5 is divide by 52 weeks, so $540 a week. Step 6, how many hours a week can you work? Hopefully you can work 40. That's great, but maybe you can't. Maybe you have childcare needs. Maybe you're only able to work 20 or 30, so you decide how many hours a week you can work, and you divide that, and so we came up with $13.50 an hour. So $13.50 an hour would give us our $1,800 net. And so if that was great and we could find a job doing that, wonderful. You know, if not, then we ask our, you know, some of our clients, they think, oh, wow, that's no problem, that's easy. And then, you know, we kind of ask, have you been in the workplace recently? And, you know, maybe it's not so easy to find something like that. Maybe you're lucky to get a $10 an hour job, you know, who knows? So what happens if you can't find one making $13.50? What are you going to do? You have to have that. That's what you need to bring home the $1,800 to pay just your basic budgeted requirements. What are you going to do? You can't find one making that. What do you do? Any ideas? You might have to work 2 jobs. You might have to pick up a part-time job. Yes. What else? Find someone to pay your bills. Okay, you may have someone that you need someone to share your expenses. Yes. Yes.
Figure out which expenses are really frivolous.
Okay. Yes. Right. Yes. So maybe go back to that budget, and like where we said, if you cut this, how much you could save. Those are items that you may have to cut. Maybe you are, you know, splurging a little too much on some of those grocery items that you need to cut back. Or maybe with your utilities, is the place that you're at, do you need to make sure that it's good for the winter? So maybe, putting the plastic on the windows, maybe turning the thermostat down a bit, whatever those items are, you kind of have to look at, do I need to cut cable? We're just going to have to go and make do for 6 months until we get back on track. Cut down on the gas that we're putting in the vehicle, and when we are going to work, maybe we could run our errands at the same time after to make sure we're not running back and forth with gas. So these are just questions that maybe we need to ask ourselves. Okay, so here's some of the resources that we give the ladies. So the first one is check systems. And why we give them check systems is if they're coming to us and perhaps they've had an account in the past and it was closed for a certain reason, or they don't know if they're in the system, they really didn't know what their financial system was, you can call check systems. And what this is, when you go and open a bank account, they don't run your credit report, they run your banking report. And so the banking report is done on check systems. It usually goes back 5 years. And so that could potentially stop you from being able to open an account is if you had written a check to someone and it didn't clear and then you didn't take care of it, you may be in the system. If you had a bank account and you were overdrawn and you didn't take care of it, you could be in the system. Even if they did close the account and you paid it off, you could still potentially be in that system even though it had been taken care of as a liability. So it's really important to be aware of your situation before you go and try and apply to open those accounts. And so we would give this to them so they could check that on their own. The Bountiful Baskets, there's the website there, so take a look at that. That's a really great one. Groupon and Living Social, we tell the ladies, Groupon, you can get really great discounts on there, and it's not just for food and things, but oil change for your car, discounts for tires. There are a variety of things on that for Groupon, the discounts. And what it is those are companies who are trying to get their name out there. And so they're giving those discounts. And so hopefully you go and use that discount, and then you are going to go back for the service the next time because you really like the service that they gave you. So that's a way for them to try and take care of items that they have to take care of at a discounted price. And then money management, the mint.com, that's just a website you can go to, and it helps you set up savings plans and helps you track it. So that's another resource. Okay, what determines your credit score? So this is probably the number one coaching session that we do with clients. Just about every client that I work with is working on cleaning up their credit and talking with creditors and what their rights are and what collection agencies can and can't say and how they can contact you and different items like that. Things that they didn't know that were on there. How do they go about having the conversation to get those items cleaned up and to write those letters? So when you are looking at your credit score, number one is on-time payment history. 12 consecutive on-time payments build your score. If your bill is due tomorrow and you pay it on Wednesday, you're only 1 day late. And you're thinking, oh, it's not a big deal, I'm just 1 day late. You're 30 days late, technically. That 30 days late is going to stay on your credit report for it's going to stay on it past a year, but it's going to take you a whole nother year to build those points back up that you just lost from being that 1 day late. Another thing to think about, if you're making payments and you're calling in or you're doing it online, usually the rule of thumb for cutoff is 2 o'clock because you're talking about Eastern time. And so it's usually 2 o'clock. If your bill's due today and you usually pay the day of and you pay it at 2:10, 2:15, it may not post until the next day. That's very important for you to make sure that it's posting that day, or if you're calling and making a contact, we tell our clients that as well. So on-time payment history, number one. The next one is amount of debt. So that's almost a third of your score as well. If you have several credit cards out there, revolving accounts, and they're almost maxed out or they're above 50%, that's going to go against you because you're overextending yourselves. So usually it's between 30 and 50%, definitely not over 50. Most house, if you're going to apply for a house, they're usually wanting it at about 41%. So it's really going to depend on what you are looking at. So that's something else that we will work with our clients too, is to try and get that those debts back down underneath a manageable amount. And it's not saying that we know you may purchase an item that puts you above that 50%, but you also want to get it paid down below that level as quickly as possible, because it can really get you into trouble with certainly trying to get into safe housing, which is number one with our clients. Yes. So here's a couple of things with it. If you are not being charged an annual fee, okay, there's nothing wrong with just, cutting it up and not using it. It's just not being used. That's fine. If you have a card that's being charged, and a lot of times our clients may have not just the annual fee, but a maintenance fee too, so you're getting charged every year plus you're getting charged every month, that's probably the one you want to cancel. You want to close that and keep the one open that doesn't have those fees. We have clients that come in that maybe have Target and Kohl's and Old Navy, plus they have a Visa and these other things. I'm thinking, you have Kohl's and you have the Old Navy and Target and you have a Visa. So that Visa can go to all those places, but all of those places can't necessarily go where the Visa can. So it's not going to help you when you need to get an oil change or tires for your car, or to help you in an emergency situation. So maybe, cut up those other cards that it's more about a splurge, and just keep the one that you can use everywhere. You kind of have to think about what your needs are and what you can use in a variety of places. It would depend on what you have open. It would depend on how much you have available, which ones you have open. You would want to make sure that there were a variety of things out there. Yes. Yes, it could put you over. Yeah. So that's what you want to look at to make sure that, because when you pull your credit report, there's two items that you have. You have your installment percentage for your installment loans, and you have your revolving percentage. So it will tell you what percent you're at. Of course, the installment's going to be a little higher for most people because you'll probably have your house on there, your car, probably student loans. The revolving one, with all those credit cards and things, that's the one that you really want to make sure you're staying below that percentage. Any other questions? And then the other three, the length, mix of credit, new accounts, all of those three together is another 30%. The big ones we want our clients to focus on is on-time payment history and amount of debt. We won't go over it today, but a lot of them, no credit is almost just as bad as bad credit. So the way to start your credit in a safe way is a secured credit card. And a secured credit card you can get through any of your banks or credit unions. And what you're doing is securing that with a savings account. So you're saving. You can't touch that savings account. That's your collateral. So you're able to save that money while establishing your credit at the same time. So that's a really, really safe way to try and establish your credit. Yeah, so yeah, if you don't pay, so you have a grace period. But what I tell the clients to do is use it. You go buy gas. That's in your budget. Pay it off at the end of the month. You go and buy some groceries. It's in your budget. Pay it off at the end of the month. So you are getting in that pattern of putting things on that card and then paying it off. And so you are showing a consistent pattern. Yes. Okay. So here's one here. Bank card debt. Say the credit card's $1,500, 19%. Quite a few credit cards out there that, Capital One and Chase and, other ones that aren't, they're tied to a bank, but you can kind of just apply through them by the mail. They may or may not have this, but just say, for instance, it's 19%, and the minimum monthly is $30. If you just pay the minimum, it's taking you 8 years to repay, and you're going to pay as much in interest as you did to take it out. So $1,500 of debt, and you're paying the $1,500 back plus another almost $1,500 in interest. If you just add $20 to your payment, you're cutting off 5 years and you're saving $1,000 by just adding $20. After the mess with Wall Street, they have to put that on your credit card statement now. It should be on there. You should see it. It says, if you only make the minimum amount payment, this is how long it's going to take you to pay it. So anytime you can pay $5 more, $10 more, it's going to make a big difference. Your car payment, your house payment, any of it. It's going